We are just about halfway through the 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs, which means we are getting closer and closer to the offseason. So before the offseason officially gets here, I thought it would be fun to react to some of your guys' hottest takes for the 2025 NHL offseason. As always, when it comes to these kinds of videos, huge shout out and thank you to each and every one of you who sent one in. Even if your comment isn't featured in this video, just know I read them all and I appreciate all of you guys. So with that all being said, let's go ahead and get started with the first hot take from Yelling, who says, after all the predictions of offer sheets last summer, 0 will be signed this summer that would involve a second round pick or higher, so nothing over 2.34 million AAV. This would absolutely suck. I feel like we've all kind of gotten our hopes up that there will be some more offer sheets this summer because of the amount of success that Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway had in their first season with the Blues. And also, I feel like the new compensation levels make offer sheeting a bigger name player a lot more realistic. If you haven't seen the new compensation levels, I will put a screenshot on the screen. But just for an example, you could sign a player to an offer sheet for $9.2 million AAV, and you're only giving up one first-round draft pick, along with a second and a third. The next hot take we have comes from NQ Productions, who says, Marner does not hit free agency and signs with Toronto, probably between 12 and 13 million per year. Knowing the Leafs, they'll never learn. The only way that I could see this happening is if the Maple Leafs are able to bounce back from their disastrous performance in Game 5 and win Game 6 in Florida tonight to force Game 7, and then also win Game 7 and advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. But if the Panthers make easy work of the Leafs again tonight and eliminate them, and Mitch Marner has another dud of a game, I just don't know how you could possibly even consider bringing him back. And the other day, Chris Johnston of The Athletic actually reported that there's been a growing sense that the 28-year-old winger wants a fresh start after enduring an avalanche of criticism for his team's repeated playoff shortcomings. So it sounds like Mitch Marner may not even want to re-sign in Toronto. He may not even want to come back. So I'm kind of at the point where I would actually be genuinely surprised if Mitch Marner ends up extending in Toronto, especially if they're not able to come back in this series against the Panthers. Moving on now to the next hot take. This one comes from Chub III, who says, Florida doesn't keep any of Marchand, Bennett, and Ekblad. With the salary cap set to jump more than $7 million heading into next season, this does feel pretty far-fetched to me. The Panthers, like pretty much every other team in the league, are going to have a decent bit of cap space to work with this summer. They also tend to get pretty sizable discounts on players because of the no state tax, because it's a beautiful place to live, and because they have been a perennial Stanley Cup contender for a while now. So with all that being said, I would be very surprised if they're not able to bring back at least one of these three guys, and if I had to make a prediction on which one I think they will keep, I'm actually going to go with Brad Marchand. He has been a fantastic fit on the Panthers, and you have to imagine Florida would be a pretty nice place to wind down your NHL career. And he's also 37 years old, so I don't think it would take some huge contract to keep him around. My guess would be something in the range of 2 years max, with a cap hit of maybe between 5 and 6 million. But when it comes to Aaron Ekblad and Sam Bennett, they are both in their primes and are likely going to be looking for deals in the range of 7 years with an AAV north of 7 million. And given the fact that the Panthers have a promising young centerman like Anton Lundell, who could fill that void as the full-time second-line centerman, and now they have Seth Jones on the right side, who is still locked up long-term. So those are the biggest reasons why I feel like Brad Marchand is going to be the one to stick around in Florida out of these three guys. The next hot take we have comes from Zach Power, who says the Flyers packaged their 2 late first-round picks to trade up and get a second pick in the top 15 that they used to nab a falling Roger McQueen. I actually really like this one. I had the Philadelphia Flyers drafting Roger McQueen in my first mock draft I did before the lottery. Looking back, I feel like I did probably have him a little bit too high, so I think it would make a lot more sense if they didn't use their highest first round pick on him, but like you said, use those 2 later first-round picks to trade up for him. When it comes to a prospect like Roger McQueen, whoever ends up drafting him, it's definitely going to be looked at as a high-risk, high-reward pick. So I definitely think it makes the most sense for a team with multiple first-round draft picks to be the team that ends up taking a chance on him, and the Flyers are definitely in a position to do that. This next hot take comes from Zach Goddard, who says, I hope my hot take is wrong, but Edmonton will roll with Skinner and Pickard again next season, so they won't go out and trade for a goaltender this summer. And honestly, I could see this happening. Both Skinner and Pickard are still signed through next season, and although Stuart Skinner especially has just been insanely inconsistent throughout his tenure with the Edmonton Oilers, all of a sudden he has put together 7 consecutive shutout periods in the playoffs and was a huge part in Edmonton closing out that series against Vegas and once again making the Western Conference Finals. This is kind of a cop-out answer, but I feel like the future of these two guys in Edmonton, Stuart Skinner especially, is going to come down to how they do the remainder of the playoffs. Like, say for an example, if the Oilers get extremely poor goaltending and lose in the Western Conference Finals, then I can't see them running it back with this 1-2 punch in net. But if they win the Stanley Cup, which they very well could, then I don't see any reason why they wouldn't run it back with these two. Moving on now to the next hot take. This one comes from Wheel of Time, who says the Calgary Flames make another blockbuster trade centering around Rasmus Andersson. I'm curious to see what ends up happening with Rasmus Andersson. I think he's going to be an interesting name to watch this summer. He is heading into the final year of his contract next season. He has a very team-friendly cap hit of a little over $4.5 million, and although he has expressed interest in wanting to re-sign in Calgary, I would not be surprised if he ends up getting traded, because at the end of the day, if you're the Flames, you got to do what's best for your organization. And despite the fact that they were very competitive this season and they were in the hunt for a wildcard spot right up until the last day of the regular season, they're still a team that is building for the future, and they're still a team that I think is quite a ways away from being a legit contender. So if they can't come to an agreement on an extension that makes sense for the team and some other team swoops in and gives the Calgary Flames a trade offer they can't refuse, I could definitely see this happening. Ultimately, I think the future of the right side of Calgary's blue line looks very promising with or without Rasmus Andersson. Continuing on now to the next hot take, Quinn Hughes will get traded to New Jersey and the Canucks will start their retool/rebuild as Besser and Suter also walk. This would be absolutely insane. I'm really not buying any of this Quinn Hughes talk whatsoever, even though he has expressed interest in wanting to play in the NHL with his brothers. I feel like people are acting like he's heading into the final year of his contract this season. He's still signed through the 2026-27 season, so the Canucks still have quite a bit of time to try and turn things around and really incentivize Quinn Hughes to want to stay in Vancouver. If he does end up getting traded, which don't get me wrong, could end up happening at some point, I definitely do not think there's any chance it happens this offseason. This next hot take comes from 12Lego2 on Twitter, who says there will be a big buyout like Bertuzzi, Landeskog, Huberdeau, etc. I think this is a pretty good hot take. With the cap going up and teams having all this newfound cap space, I could definitely see teams being a lot more open now to bigger buyouts, because the dead cap space won't have as much of an effect, again, because the cap is set to rise so much in the coming years. Moving on now to the next hot take. This one comes from Soup on Twitter, who says a top 5 pick in this year's draft will be traded. Lukewarm. I feel like this is actually more than a lukewarm hot take. I feel like this is pretty hot. I mean, we don't really see top 5 picks get traded all that often. I feel like heading into every NHL draft, we're always talking about teams that could trade up or trade down, and ultimately we never end up seeing very many trades. Looking at the order of the top 5, I can't see the Islanders trading the first overall pick. Same goes for San Jose at number 2 and Chicago at number 3. If a top 5 pick is going to be traded, I feel like it would either be Utah at 4 or Nashville at 5. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on this though, so let me know down below in the comments, which team drafting in the top 5 do you think is most likely to trade their pick? And now finally wrapping up this video with the final hot take from Owen, who says the Wings throw big money at Ekblad and buy out Hall. They also make a trade for a top 6 winger to play with Raymond and Larkin. A Justin Hall buyout feels inevitable at this point, so I think you hit the nail on the head there. As far as them throwing big money at Aaron Ekblad, they definitely need help on the blue line. They need a top 4 veteran defender to come in and help stabilize the defense. I'm not sure if Aaron Ekblad would be the right guy. I do have my concerns given his injury history, the fact that he's already 29 years old and would likely be looking for a deal in the range of 7 years and probably around a cap hit similar to his previous cap hit, or his current cap hit I should say, of $7.5 million. And as far as them going out and making a trade for a top 6 winger, I feel like whether it's in free agency or via trade, they absolutely have to add a top 6 winger. You can't just be relying on guys like DeBrincat and Raymond and Larkin for your scoring every night. The Red Wings need help up front, especially, when it comes to even strength offense. And I think trading for a legit established top 6 winger would go a long way in helping them do that. Again, I do have my concerns when it comes to Aaron Ekblad, but I think for the most part, everything you said here makes a lot of sense for the Red Wings. So that is going to wrap up today's video, reacting to your guys' hot takes for the 2025 NHL offseason. If you missed the post I made for you guys to submit your hot takes for this video, I still want to hear what they are, so leave them down below in the comments of this video. And if you made it all this way to the end of the video and you ended up enjoying yourself, please remember to leave a like. It's the best way to let me know that you enjoyed, and it does actually help out the videos a ton. And most importantly, importantly, if this was your first time checking out the channel and you want more NHL content just like this all year round, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you all again soon.